There it is. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Tailgate Talk. We're your co-hosts, David and Nick. Nick, say hello, people.
Howdy, got a little throwback to early days. No Joe today. He had something come up.
Gallivanting.
So unfortunately no Joe today, but we do have his picks. But yeah, that's why you got me and David today.
And Joe. If you're watching this, we're not sorry with what's about to go down.
Well,
So
to to
let's hop
segue,
right into it. Hell of a week of college football. I mean, I feel like I'm a broken record saying this over and over and over again. Just chaos galore. It's fantastic, Nick. This is
and
all you could hope for college football.
you know what, it really is vindicating because going into this year, everyone was saying, "Oh, the extended playoff is going to water down the regular season." We wouldn't have cared about a two-loss Alabama losing to Oklahoma, a two-loss Texas A&M losing to Auburn, a two-loss Ole Miss losing to Florida. Like we wouldn't have cared, but now we do. Like that it was those games have so much more meaning now because that like they're elimination games, and it's crazy that we're here. We were watching that A&M Auburn game together, and Auburn came out ecstatic or on fire. Then they did everything in their power to lose that game, and then they somehow pulled it out. That's just college football. Great weekend.
We're watching that game into past midnight after a long day of watching college football, and you're just the aura, the atmosphere. I mean, there's nothing like college football when it gets to crunch time and you're trying to win a game in overtime. There are no words to describe how awesome it is to watch this sport.
And see, I mean, Auburn's fighting for bowl eligibility at this point. They have nothing else except they're trying to make a bowl game. So you know that meant a lot to them as a program to get themselves in a position where if they beat Alabama, they're going to a bowl game. Like that's just what it's all about is a group of guys coming together and playing the sport that we love, but not professional. I love it. I don't know where I was going with that, but my brain's fried from everything that's happened, all the playoff scenarios. It's crazy.
I mean, how crazy is it that we have an eight-way tie currently in the Big 12? And depending on how things go, that could cause the Big 12 to be left out of the playoff. You've got Tulane just sitting there waiting for some chaos. You've got Boise State feeling pretty good about themselves now. I mean, this is we were talking about this a couple weeks ago, like, oh, wouldn't it be awesome Army Navy fighting for a
Mhm.
uh, a playoff berth and then going to play the Army Navy game the week after. And we were thinking, okay, so we've got like Mountain West and then the American there. Tulane says, you know what? You got the right conference, just the wrong teams. I'm here. I'm ready to go.
Has that matchup been solidified, the American Conference yet? Do you know?
Um, I do not think so.
I think Army has to. I'm pretty sure Army and Tulane probably would just have to win, or I'll look it up too.
It doesn't show anything right now.
Oh well, Army and Tulane are undefeated in the conference. They're both undefeated in the conference, and the next closest team is Navy and Memphis ECU with two losses. So it'll be those two, which would be a great game. Army and Tulane. That should be a fun. Um, that should be a fun conference championship weekend game that'll get us started. I'm assuming I that'll be a fun one. That'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah. It's
And
college football, man.
and
I'm just so excited about it.
you're mentioning Boise State and Tulane. You got to even talk about the winner of this Palmetto Bowl matchup because they're sitting there. South Carolina is getting a lot of buzz as a three-loss team that people would want to see in potentially if they beat Clemson this week. And Clemson, obviously, their the goal is to win the ACC. But if Syracuse doesn't beat Miami this week and Clemson's sitting idle, if they beat South Carolina, that might be enough to get them in. They're at 12. This would be a win over number 15 And then you got to figure it. Probably a team ahead of them is going to lose in conference championship weekend. Like, there's a chance Clemson could sneak in, and the ACC could get three teams. Partly because the Big 12 is cannibalizing themselves, like the Pac-12. That's what happens when you take too many Pac-12 schools. They bring their tendencies with them. It's the realm of possibilities for how this 12 team is going to shake up is insane. Like, there's just so many different ones of how it could happen.
Yeah. I mean, given where the Big 12 and where Tulane is, so those are the two for um that fifth conference championship slot. They're not neither of those conferences are going to be able to get up inside of the top 12. So they are taking the 12 seed. You do not want to be the 12 seed. You want to be 11 at worst case scenario. I truly think that if Clemson wants to um Clemson or South Carolina in this case, because I think it is a play-in game here. You win that game, you want to be seeing yourself ahead of Indiana. Um, when the picks come out next Tuesday.
Right.
That's where you need to be to feel good about yourself. Um, whether that's 11 or that's 10, I think that's where you like that's going to be the team that you're going to get compared to the most because in that scenario, neither um, winner of the Palmetto Bowl would have a conference championship, and they're being then compared against a an Indiana team that most likely will be only one loss. But their schedule wouldn't have that signature win. They would have the blowout loss to Ohio State, similar to how Clemson has their blowout loss um,
Georgia.
to Georgia, and then they've got their inexplicable loss to Louisville, and then you've got South Carolina sitting there with their tight losses. So it's you start getting into that comparison puts the committee into a bind.
Well, South Carolina did get blown out by Ole Miss, but they did lose. They probably should have beaten LSU. They should have beaten Bama. That's the thing about South Carolina. They're a few plays away from being a one-loss team right now. And can you imagine how scary that would have been? Like, us as Clemson fans, South Carolina haters. I'm impressed. I will say I'm impressed with the way Shane Beamer has coached this year and the way that their team is playing. Give him props. I hate to do it on hate week, but I mean they're a good team, and it hurts to say it. The other possibility we're talking about, we haven't spoken about, Texas A&M could still win the SEC. If they beat Texas this week, they're in the conference championship, and then if they somehow beat Georgia, then they get the auto bid in because they'd be at that point have beaten Texas and Georgia back to back. They'd skyrocket up SEC champions. There's no way they're going to lead the SEC champions out of the playoff, no matter how many losses they may have. So like, there's a real possibility A&M sneaks in here, wins the SEC, and then steals a spot from an Indiana, from a Clemson, from whoever's at that 11 line. So there are so many possibilities that are going to be one are going to be answered this week, but two could linger around in the conference championship week, and that's going to make it even more fun.
On top of all that, like you said, Nick, it's hate week. This is the week for college football. You've got the game in Columbus this year, I think, right?
I believe it's in Columbus. I'll double check that.
You got the game. You've got the Iron Bowl between Auburn and Alabama. Both these teams, like who's going to show up at this point? Is Auburn from last week going to show up and catch lightning one more time, or is Alabama going to figure it out? I mean, I shared the stat with you earlier, Nick. Like one of my friends pulled it up. Alabama has not won in Tuscaloosa against Auburn without Nick Saban because before Nick Saban they were playing in Birmingham. like there's stats here that are just like really fun to pull the thread on. Like that,
That didn't make
it hasn't
sense.
been done before.
I mean, my
My
reaction was, how is that
technicality,
possible?
my favorite type of technical that technicality. They have never beaten Auburn in Tuscaloosa without Nick Saban. That's hysterical.
Really
And then
makes you
and then you've
question.
got the Palmetto Bowl that we're super excited about, that we're nervous about. It's going to be a good game. I'm glad it's in Clemson. Otherwise, I would really worry about our odds. Um, like Georgia Tech's playing pretty well too. Do they have a chance to keep it close against Georgia? I mean, it's in Athens, but
Could you
Georgia
imagine if
hasn't looked
Georgia
good. for 4 quarters through a game. Can Georgia Tech keep it close and make it interesting in the fourth quarter? Like this is the week to be a college football fan.
If Georgia Tech can somehow keep it close, I'm going to throw another SEC game that could be interesting. What if Vanderbilt's got one more in them? They're playing Tennessee this week. They could seriously screw up Tennessee's playoff if Diego Pavia's got one more game in him. It's not crazy to think that Vanderbilt could do it. And then you got A&M Texas.
Which
That could be
hasn't been
really
played
fun.
over a decade, like
That's
13 years,
and
I
they,
think it is.
those two teams hate each other, and there's deep animosity there. I'm excited to see that
We're
one.
not even getting to just like old-fashioned hate in terms like the Egg Bowl on Thursday night.
Hmm.
This is this
I
is the
love it.
week to be a college football fan. This is what you live for if you breathe live and die with college football. This is what it's all about.
And I can't think of a better way to get into our picks.
Hell yeah, let's get into it.
So, like we said, Joe's not here, so we will he still made his pick, so we'll talk about it. David, you won the regular season. I think that was already confirmed, but mathematically, it's impossible for either of us to come back now. Another great
Thanks.
week.
Thank you. It was I'd like to say it was a struggle, but it really wasn't.
I'm just hoping to get back above 500. I've treaded water at 4 games under, so I'm almost there. Joe's
You
been fading down the
mathematically
stretch.
cannot get above 500. The best you can do is 500.
That's fine because I can overtake Joe for second place. That's what I'm going for right now. Locks. I'll start. Arizona State is one of the hottest teams in the country right now. I know preseason I picked Arizona to win the Big 12. Hand up, bad take. Um, I think Arizona State is just going to ride this momentum. I think they're going to do everything they can to be the Big 12 representative. So give me the Sun Devils. Give me the 8.5. I love Arizona State in this one. So
Joe
Joe
with
picked
his
SMU over Cal.
I mean he's trying to make sure he's playing for second right now, Nick. That's all he's doing.
The fact that this is an
I do like
ACC
this
game,
pick. This is in SMU. What we've seen all year is that whatever team is traveling to or from the East and West Coast, and I mean, yeah, they're in Texas, so it's a little bit split the difference, but still the time zone change. Whoever's going there is the team that's most likely to struggle. I mean, the only team I think that's won in the
Miami.
ACC was Miami because they got helped out by the refs. So you know SMU is going to get the help this week.
Could you imagine if Miami had won that game, or if Cal had won that game, and Clemson would already be in the ACC championship right now, or if Virginia Tech had beaten them?
You've got that game. You've got the Wake Forest game that was close until the fourth quarter. You've got Virginia Tech. They should have lost that game. We can get into it on Miami and how close they've been flirting with disaster all year.
Well, we could save that for a little later. I know one of us has a pick against them, so we'll get into that later. Um,
I got to go to the game. Michigan is a bad team this year. I called it at the beginning. And you know what? Ohio State, I think, is looking to to just drive it home, make sure that they're no doubt after their big win against Indiana. They need their this is their hate week times a million. They've crossed out all the M's on campus. I think they're ready to get through Michigan, run through them like a brick wall, and then get to Oregon.
yeah, this game's going to be over quickly. I really think that Ohio State's got this one locked up. Pick'em time. I'm surprised it was this close. I'm gonna go Louisville over Kentucky. I just think Louisville's the better team. Kentucky beat Ole Miss, but I'm not that high on Ole Miss this year. I just think Louisville's set up better. So give me the Cardinals. I think they win this one. Another underrated rivalry. These teams hate each other.
Joe going with Kansas, another hot team right now, over Baylor. I'm loving this pick too. So nothing but praise for Joe on this pick. Me, I'm going Texas over Texas A&M. I think that A&M suffering the loss the way that they did last week. There's a lot of, I think, emotion's going to be running high. I think it's going to get chippy early, but I think Texas is gonna pull away from this game.
My preseason national title. Not no big deal. That was pretty good pick. Upsets. I was surprised. Can I mean I'm not that high on Iowa State, so I was a little surprised Kansas State was the dog here, but they are on the road. Give me the Wildcats. I think that they're the better team. I'm not that high on Iowa State, and this just feeds into the whole Big 12 cannibalizing each other. So yeah, give me Kansas State. I think they win this one pretty easily. I think they win it by a touchdown. And then we were talking about this one before. We are both shocked that Pitt is not just an underdog, 5.5 points to Boston College. Pitt's a good team. They I think they got devalued by losing to SMU and Clemson in consecutive weeks. They're a good team, so I agree with them. I think Pitt's going to win this game.
I mean, I feel like Pitt has lost four straight games. They're reeling a bit. I can kind of see it from that perspective. I don't know the health of their quarterback either. Uh, but yeah, I mean, ugly loss to Louisville last week after losing to Clemson in a close game, after losing to Virginia in a close game and getting boat raced by SMU. Like they are 100% on their back foot. But with Boston College, with their quarterback questions too, like I am shocked that it's a 5.5 point spread.
Hmm.
Um, but I think this is going to be a close game.
Even if it was like 2.5, I'd kind of get it. But the whole almost two field goals, I don't know about that one.
With me, I'm manifesting some stuff. Syracuse 11-point dogs. It's in the dome. Miami's been fraudulent in every way other than getting helped out by the refs. This is it's time. Like everyone was talking about Miami taking care of business against Wake. I watched that game from start to finish. They were in a dogfight through three quarters, and then Wake Forest, who has not been good this year, ran out of gas, and Miami piled it on in that fourth quarter. That this team, I think, is in for a rude awakening against Kyle McCord and the Orange.
I agree, and I mean I texted you guys the day of the games last Saturday. I said I called my shot too. I think Syracuse is winning this game. Do got to be careful for the ACC refs getting involved in the final game just to make sure Miami gets in, but we'll see. We'll see. Then our favorite section over under. I just think that Ohio State can score 45 on them themselves, and I eventually Michigan will score some points, so I think that'll help out. But I think the game is going to go over. I'm hoping for a score similar to the one where JT was short on 4th and 1, but give me the over in this one. Over 42.5 seems very doable.
You're picking Penn State, Maryland over 50 and a half. I mean, my only point here is hand up, Penn State. I picked to be unranked at this point in the year, and clearly they're not. I do expect them to get completely shellacked in the playoffs because I don't think
Yeah.
they've beaten a team with a true pulse yet.
It's
So
also James Franklin.
yeah, and it's James Franklin. So that's all. That's my only thought there. Penn State's going to lose in the playoffs, so who cares? For me, I mean, with the news of Mac Brown retiring, NC State having the season that they've been having, I think this is going to be an ugly game. So, UNC and NC State, I'm picking under 55 and a half. I think it's going to be a slugfest, and I think points are going to be a premium here.
It's another game where the two teams just absolutely hate each other. And I like not growing up, but going to high school in that area, um, people really hate them. Like it reminds me of the Clemson South Carolina matchup. Like they do not like each other. It should be a fun game. Like you said, Mac Brown's final game as a coach. Who could have seen that when he rage quit earlier in the season? Not us. We were completely blindsided. But yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see what type of teams show up. Like, are they gonna be inspired to get them that last win, or are they gonna be like, who cares? It's a real gut check week for Carolina just to see where they're at. And yes, I'm gonna end Hate Week episode by saying that Carolina is in Chapel Hill, USC is in California, and the university in South Carolina always has been, always will be Clemson. So you can write that, you could tweet that.
All in, baby. Well, it's been a hell of a college football regular season. I am so excited to watch all these games this weekend. It's going to be just the perfect weekend to sit on the couch and watch every game that you can. For Joe, go Irish, and from us here, go Tigers.
Go Tigers, baby.